There is something uncomfortable about real crime stories. They are not just stories about criminals. They are stories about trust, fear, greed, silence, ego, pressure, and deception. They show us what people hide. They show us how ordinary situations can turn dark. And sometimes, the scariest truth is not that evil exists. It is that it often looks calm, normal, and familiar. Today, we are looking at 7 dark truths about human nature, each revealed through a real crime case. Before we begin, this video is created for documentary and educational purposes. The focus is not on graphic details, but on behavior, choices, investigation, and the uncomfortable lessons real cases can teach us about human nature. Truth 1. Trust can blind people case. Example: Bernie Madoff. Trust is one of the most powerful forces in human life, but when trust is placed in the wrong person, it can become dangerous. Bernie Madoff was not a stranger hiding in the shadows. He was a respected figure in finance. People trusted his name, his reputation, and the image of success around him. That trust became one of the reasons his fraud lasted so long. According to the FBI, Madoff eventually admitted to his family that his investment business was a fraud and that he was running a Ponzi scheme. His sons contacted an attorney, and the case quickly reached federal authorities. Madoff later became the face of one of the most infamous financial fraud cases in modern history. The dark truth is this: people do not only trust facts, they trust confidence, they trust status, they trust what other people trust. And once a person looks successful, honest, and accepted by society, many people stop asking basic questions. Trust can be beautiful, but blind trust can become a trap. Truth 2. Greed makes people ignore warning signs case. Example: Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. Greed is not always loud. Sometimes it wears a clean black turtleneck, speaks calmly on stage, and promises to change the world. Elizabeth Holmes built Theranos around a bold promise: blood testing that could supposedly be done with very small samples. Investors, media, and powerful people paid attention. But later, the story collapsed. The U.S. Department of Justice announced that Holmes was found guilty of conspiracy and wire fraud connected to a scheme to defraud investors. She was later sentenced to more than 11 years in federal prison for defrauding Theranos investors of hundreds of millions of dollars. This case is not just about deception. It is also about what people wanted to believe. Investors wanted the next revolutionary company. The public wanted a miracle technology. The media wanted a genius founder story. And when people want something badly enough, warning signs become easier to explain away. The dark truth is this: greed is not only about wanting money. Sometimes greed is wanting to be early, wanting to be right, wanting to be part of something huge. And when desire becomes stronger than doubt, people stop seeing clearly. Truth 3. Fear can control people more than force. Case. Example: the Unabomber investigation. Fear changes behavior. It changes how people move, how they speak, how they think, and what they avoid. For nearly 2 decades, the Unabomber case created fear across the United States. The FBI describes the case as a long investigation into a bomber who killed 3 people and injured many others through a series of mailed or hand-delivered explosive devices. The case began in 1978 and continued until Theodore Kaczynski's arrest in 1996. The frightening part was not only the violence, it was the uncertainty. People did not know where the next package might appear. They did not know who was behind it. They did not know when it would stop. Fear does not always need constant action to control people. Sometimes the possibility of danger is enough. The dark truth is this: fear can make people cautious, but fear can also make people powerless. It can make a society look over its shoulder. It can make ordinary objects feel threatening. And that is why fear is one of the strongest tools anyone can use against human beings. Truth 4. Silence protects lies. Case. Example: D.B. Cooper. Some mysteries survive, not because there are no clues, but because the truth stays silent. On November 24, 1971, a man using the name Dan Cooper hijacked Northwest Orient Flight 305, demanded ransom money, and later parachuted from the plane. The FBI says he was never found, and the case became one of America's most famous unsolved mysteries. What makes the D.B. Cooper case so powerful is not only the act itself, it is the silence afterward. No confirmed identity, no final confession, no complete explanation, no clean ending. The FBI eventually announced it was no longer actively investigating the case, though it remained open to specific new physical evidence, such as parachutes or ransom money. The dark truth is this: silence can be stronger than a lie. A lie gives investigators something to break, but silence creates a wall. It leaves people guessing. It turns a crime into a legend. And sometimes, the absence of an answer becomes more powerful than the answer itself. Truth 5. Ego makes people careless. Case example: BTK/Dennis Rader. Ego is dangerous because it makes people believe they are smarter than everyone else. In many investigations, the mistake does not come from panic. It comes from arrogance. Dennis Rader, known as BTK, was eventually arrested after years of fear and investigation. One of the most widely discussed details of the case is that communication sent to police helped lead investigators toward him. Reporting and forensic summaries of the case describe how a floppy disk was traced back to a church computer and connected to Rader. This case is extremely dark, so we will not focus on graphic details. The important lesson is behavioral. Ego wants attention. Ego wants recognition. Ego wants to control the story. And sometimes, that need to be seen becomes the mistake. The dark truth is this: some people are not satisfied with getting away. They want to be admired for getting away. They want to feel superior. They want to leave a signature. But the moment ego enters the room, discipline starts to disappear. And in crime stories, ego often becomes evidence. Truth 6. Pressure reveals the real person case. Example: Madoff's collapse. Pressure does not create character, it reveals it. For years, Bernie Madoff's operation appeared stable from the outside. But when financial pressure increased and the scheme could no longer continue, the truth came out. According to the FBI's account, Madoff told his family the business was a fraud and that they were out of money. That moment matters because pressure removed the illusion. The image of control collapsed, the reputation collapsed, the performance collapsed, and what remained was the truth. This happens in many real cases. When there is no pressure, people can perform. They can smile. They can act normal. They can maintain a story. But pressure attacks the story. It forces decisions. It creates contradictions. It reveals what people were hiding. The dark truth is this: you do not truly know someone only by how they act when life is easy. You learn more when they are cornered, when they have something to lose, when the truth becomes expensive. Pressure does not always change people. Sometimes it simply shows who they were all along. Truth 7. Deception often looks calm case. Example: Theranos and the power of a controlled image. The scariest lies are not always dramatic. Sometimes they are calm, professional, well-spoken, confident. The Theranos case became powerful because it showed how deception can be packaged in a way that feels inspiring. The Department of Justice said Holmes was convicted in connection with a scheme to defraud investors, and later sentenced to prison for defrauding investors of hundreds of millions of dollars. What made the story so fascinating was not only the technology claim, it was the image, the voice, the confidence, the vision, the carefully controlled public identity. Human beings often mistake calmness for truth. We think if someone sounds certain, they must know what they are talking about. We think if someone looks successful, they must be legitimate. We think if powerful people believe in them, maybe we should too. But deception does not always look nervous. Sometimes, deception looks perfectly rehearsed. The dark truth is this: a lie does not need to look suspicious to be dangerous. Sometimes, the most dangerous lies are the ones delivered with confidence. Which of these 7 truths do you think is the most dangerous? Trust, greed, fear, silence, ego, pressure, or deception? Comment your answer below. And if you want more real cases that reveal the dark side of human nature, watch the next case file on this channel.